What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another Playmates Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire review. Today we'll be looking at multiple figures, not just one, and as you know from the title of this video, we are looking at the 3-inch figures. So these are the 3-inch figures. This is what you're going to be looking at when you try to find them in the store. I don't know where they're going to be easily accessible, where you can find them. My guess is probably Walmart, maybe a Five Below, maybe the dollar store. There's a good chance these will show up in the dollar store. These are basically the 2-inch figures, but scaled up and a little bit more detailed. And at least that's what I hope. So I will be comparing them with the actual 2-inch figures, which of course I already did the videos on. So I do hope these will be like a higher quality versions of the 2-inch figures. And I hope these will be as easy to find as the 2-inch figures, that's for sure. So without further ado, we're going to review these figures one at a time. Given that there's only 4, it shouldn't be too much of a task. So let's start off with Godzilla Evolved here. So this is the approximate size of the package that you'll be finding. It is only one single cardboard sheet and of course is a plastic container holding the figure within. Now unfortunately this means you're going to have to destroy the package to get the figure out if you want to open it. And that's exactly what we're here to do today. Godzilla Evolved, and of course in the other languages you have the logos up here, and of course you have the Monsterverse logo as well as the movie title there. And here's what it looks like at the back in case you are curious on what it looks like at the back. There you go, you have this black and white render of Godzilla and Kong going at it. Very, very nice. So that's about it. There's nothing too much to be expected out of this package, and of course the whole point of this is for the figure within. So let's open this, shall we? You know what? This is honestly a lot better than the 2 inches. I just want to say it right off the bat. Now, granted, I don't know exactly how much they cost price-wise. When I paid for these, they're around $8.99 each. So, is it worth that price? And honestly speaking, I think it's worth just fine. Now, it completely varies on your situation. My situation may not be yours. You could be buying this figure at a different store at a different price point. So I can only speak for myself. As I mentioned, these are the scaled up versions of the 2 inches. Now, I'm not exactly sure if these are actually 3-inch figures because I'm looking at this now with the 2-inch here. I think this is like 5-inch, 4 inches. These may be like, yeah, these are probably twice the size as the 2 inches. So I could be wrong on the measurement part. I might be a little bit wrong, and I do apologize if I am. Now, one thing that these figures trump significantly from these 2 inches is that they have articulation. Would you look at that? These small figures have articulation, meaning they have playability. You absolutely love to see it. Obviously with the 2 inches here, no playability. It's just a tiny little minifigure, so you can only display it, or you can sort of fiddle with it, but you know, there's not much playability with it. It came in 2 pieces, the tail and the main body, which you had to assemble together. So meaning that there's tail articulation. Would you look at that? Other bits of articulation include, of course, the legs. You can move the legs forward and back, and you can see these are some pretty long legs, that's for sure. Godzilla does have a skinnier, leanish look compared to his usual self when he's evolved here. And of course there's articulation with the arms here. Very subtle articulation, but you know, it still works. And there's no head articulation, but that's a given. Godzilla's head isn't really that big. I had a big problem with the 6-inch Godzillas, like the regular Godzilla figures, and if you've seen the videos, and I've repeated it several times, is that the colors were not really unified. There was just different sectors of pink that didn't really match well with one another. That problem isn't really present in this case. His main dorsal plates are pink, as you can see up here. It's a very nice color of pink, and it's kind of faded as well, especially at the tip, and that's because of the texture of the dorsal plates. This is very wrinkly. And I think it looks pretty solid. You know, for a small figure like this with its size, they are able to put some good textures on it. What I say is the best? No, because it does have that awkward cutout point when it get to the beginning of the tail and the end of the body, like this middle part here. I would like to see a better transition, just the pink slowly fading away into the tail. Just, you know, it'll look better. And unfortunately, there is no pink for the elbow dorsal fin. Now that is something only the Battle Roar Godzilla is able to accomplish. All the other Godzillas, yeah. It looks okay, it just matches the skin color, but because it is meant to be a dorsal plate, you know, just make it pink. Now my least favorite part would definitely be the head. Like, the face doesn't really look that good, you know, even though it's a scaled up version of the 2-inch, I get it. And so I would have loved to see some better face paint on it. If they have a bigger figure, bigger mold, surely they have some better space to do a little more detailed figure, and unfortunately they didn't really do that there. I don't know why, but it kind of reminds me of like of a crocodile. Maybe it's the shape of his mouth. Maybe that's the way they've done it, but yeah, it's kind of giving me crocodile vibes here. Out of 10, what do I give this 4-inch Godzilla Evolved? I would say it's I'm gonna say it's a 7 out of 10. Yeah, I think that's a pretty generous score. A 7 out of 10. Mainly the head is really the downplay of this figure, but otherwise it's not terrible. It is definitely better than the 2-inch, as you saw. I just did a side-by-side comparison. I definitely think having articulation, no matter the size of the figure, already allows it to have better playability and therefore makes it a lot better just as the quality of the figure overall. So, that being said, that is everything for this Godzilla Evolved. I'll bring them back later. I want to do an overview of all 4 figures, so this is what I gotta say for Godzilla. Let's move on to the next figure. I think let's do Kong next. All right, next up we'll be looking at the Kong with the beast glove, of course. As we saw with the Godzilla, this is of course the scaled up version of the 2-inch. So let's quickly take a look. And of course we have the stuff up top and then the other side. You know, it's the same old stuff, but there are some people watching who are that curious. So this is for you lot. Pause the video if you want to actually see what it looks like. So let's get this package opened, shall we? All right, Kong. Again, there is articulation. That is enough for me. Here is the 2-inch, of course. There's your proper comparison. Now, obviously, there's 0 articulation on the 2-inch. No articulation whatsoever. It's just a big old mold, one whole mold. This one, of course, is the scaled up version, and it has articulation, but only in 3 areas. Both of his arms and his head. Well, the head is really a big step up because there's no head articulation for Godzilla, as you saw earlier, and Kong already has it. Now, Kong's articulation is just the arms, so as you can see, you can move him up and down or forward and back, call it what you will. I did notice though, for the beast glove arm, it is a bit more loose, whereas his regular arm is just a little more tight. Maybe it's my figure here specifically, but that's definitely something I've noticed. Now, texture-wise, they've definitely nailed it here. You know, Kong has fur, and they've done it pretty well with the size of him. And as for the beast glove itself, they don't really have the paintings on the numbers like they do with the 6-inch one, but you can still see it's there. It's sculpted in there. I'm not sure what those symbols or those letters mean on the beast glove. Obviously, I have not seen the movie yet, and I guess we'll find out when that is the case. Now, the face is definitely a lot better than the 2-inch, that's for sure. There is some expression. I would say the eyes could use a little bit of work, but there is some definite expressions going on here. There you go. You can see it's kind of that Battle Roar, typical Battle Roar Kong face that he'll make. And of course, you can see his mouth. You can see there's actually a tongue inside. So there's some good details with the molding as well. And of course, most importantly, there is articulation. You can twist his head left and right, so that's good. As you can see, there's also scratch marks on his torso. I assume the scratch marks came from his fight with Godzilla, so that's a given. And you know, after reviewing the 6-inch Kong, I would say the face wasn't really that good on the 6-inch Kong, but this one, they've actually done a pretty good job with this one. I definitely think it's a bit more detailed than the 2-inch one here, that's for sure. Obviously, with the size of the figure, you have more options because there's more space to work with it, and the details is therefore able to surface. As a small little figure overall, I would definitely say playability is present here. There is zero articulation on the legs, which is unfortunate. Godzilla does have leg articulation, so it would be nice if we had the same for Kong here. But overall, this is a pretty solid figure. It looks good for its size. The Beast Glove, I would say, could use a bit of paint. Fill in the letters and numbers on the Beast Glove, and I think that would already do the trick a lot better. Out of 10, what do I give this Kong with Beast Glove? I'm going to say out of 10, I would give it an 8. An 8 out of 10, you know, it's a pretty solid figure. I'm quite happy with it, you know, but of course, there were some teeny tiny bits that just could be a lot better. Now that we're done with Kong, let's move on to our villain of this movie, which is of course Skar King. Alright, now let's take a look at the villain of this movie, which is of course Skar King himself. Let's see what he looks like as a little 3-inch figure by first looking at the name. Here's the logos and all that. Very nice, very nice. Up top, Monsterverse logo. There's that. And then here's the other side. Again, it's the same old thing, but pause the video. Now, let's open this and let's take Skar King out. The way he's packaged in the package is you have his arm moved up like this, and that is the same pose he throws for the 2-inch one here, as you can see. So there you go. That's your little comparison. And I will say right off the bat, something great that Skar King has maintained from both sizes is that there is good red and white blend. It's faded pretty well with the color red, which I like to describe as goji berry red. Also, you can see with the whiplash, the quote-unquote blade, the jaw bits, you know, where the teeth are, it's a lot bigger than the rest of the whip itself. Now, articulation, of course, you have both arms. Of course, you can have him do similar poses as Kong. You know, he's about to smash something. And when you move the arms down, you can't really move the elbows. It kind of looks like he's doing one of the Fortnite emotes. There is no articulation on the legs, unfortunately. That's the same thing with Kong. And there is no head movement. I was surprised by that. I thought there would be head movement because Kong did, but unfortunately Skar King here does not, which is unfortunate. So articulation is quite limited here. But isn't really a bad thing, I wouldn't say so, because overall for the size of this figure, once again being an $8.99 figure, you get the bang for your buck, so it's okay. You know, you do get something out of it, and it looks pretty solid. Now, most noticeably, let's look at the head. Of course, a lot of people like to compare Skar King to Kratos, because of course the tattoos, you can kind of see the resemblance there. Now, he has a pretty good face. You can see his blue eyes. He's snarling, you know, it's a bit of a realistic face, something that Godzilla failed to achieve. I gotta give Playmates props for actually making a somewhat realistic looking head here, so good job. But if you look underneath, you can see the red fur is still there. And then of course it's all smooth white on the top. So it makes up for it. I think it's okay. And the same thing for the other side here. So it's not too bad. I've seen worse designs, so this is the best I could honestly ask for. I just wish there was a little bit more articulation options, so that definitely took it away. But the whiplash is pretty good. It is part of the figure. Don't try to detach it. It will break the figure. Out of 10, what do I give this Skar King? I would say a 7 out of 10 as well, but that is all I gotta say about Skar King here. All right, last but definitely not the least. In a few weeks, you're gonna see me release the Shimo reviews of the 6-inch figure and the Godzilla vs. Shimo playset. And I addressed Shimo as a guy. I said he. I described Shimo as a he. Well, I think I'm going to be mistaken because I think at this point I'm sure Shimo is a female. So when those reviews come out, yeah, I'm gonna get some comments just slandering me from getting the wrong gender. Let's take a look. Of course, we got Shimo here. We got the logos, and we have the rest of this stuff. And then of course the back. You may pause the video, of course, to take a look at the back, because now we're going to take Shimo out of the box. Let's do it. I'm not gonna lie, this is a pretty solid Shimo figure. So far, all the Shimo figures Playmates has put out has impressed me. I have not been disappointed by them. This particular Shimo has a bit of an awkward situation here. The blue on her dorsal plates, we'll call it that, her back spikes, are a lot darker compared to her tail. Something that the 6-inch Shimo was able to do well was the blue was able to travel throughout her and from head to the tip of the tail. It was the same blue color scheme. Not so much for this one. Now, of course, we also have the 2-inch one, and I was frankly quite satisfied with the 2-inch one. No articulation, of course, but she looked pretty good for what you get out of it. And this is one of the Shimos that has a completely different mold. Godzilla, Kong, and Skar King had the same molds from the 2 inches, but not Shimo. She is the one exception. While as Godzilla, Kong, and Skar King were following the 2-inch molds, but bigger. So this is a special case. Let's look at the articulation. First and foremost, tail articulation. Lots of tail articulation. Now, it does hit the legs a little bit. It does clash with the feet a little bit here because you do have to move the feet a little bit. So there's a little bit of a choke point there, but that's okay. The tail here is actually a lot shorter too. The other Shimos have pretty long tails, but this one is quite short in this one's case. All 4 legs have their own individual articulation, which is pretty solid. So of course, you can move this back and forth. And of course, you can move the back legs the same. There's that. So lots of articulation there, but it's just they're going to clash, and that is a given. She does have head rotation. You can see 360 all the way around like that. And unfortunately, no head movement. The mouth is open. You cannot open and close it. It is stuck like that. Now, articulation aside, we also have textures, and she's kind of like, kind of like Godzilla, a pretty scaly texture going on here, and Playmates was able to highlight that pretty well. So props on them for doing that. I would say the head does fall short a little bit. Kong and Skar King were able to have pretty good face prints. Godzilla and Shimo here, not so much. Shimo here, I would say looks better than Godzilla, that's for sure. But the eyes are very tiny and it just feels a little bit short here. For a small scale version of this figure, they were able to incorporate good color integration, except for this bit, the main portion of her dorsal plates, which is this dark blue color, which is very dark blue. So I wish they toned that a little bit lighter just so it'll match with the rest of the figure, her tail and her head, just have the blue match, and it definitely will be a lot better. People are saying Shimo is bigger than Godzilla. Playmates isn't going to be accurate with the scale. You can see Godzilla is taller than Shimo's case here, but when Shimo stands on 2 legs, which she can for the 6-inch, yeah, she does tower Godzilla a little bit. What would I give Shimo here out of 10? I'm gonna have to give Shimo here a 7 out of 10 as well. If they were able to get some articulation that is flexible and it doesn't clash with one another, it would definitely boost up the score. I just think this figure looks good, but with something new also creates new problems. Obviously, these are the 4 main characters that will be pretty much spearheading the movie, but this looks like a good selection of characters for sure. I would say from all 4 of them, definitely Godzilla looks the worst, but he has the best articulation in this case. So let's rank them. Let's rank it by articulation first. Let's rank it by playability as a whole. These figures are playable with their sizes, but how good is each figure playing wise? So number 1 is Godzilla. Number 2, I would say, is Kong, actually. You would say Shimo's more articulation, but you want good articulation. And Shimo has too many articulations that clash. That's why I'm gonna say Kong is number 2, Shimo is number 3, and Skar King is number 4. That is all my thoughts for these 4-inch Playmates figures. Definitely a scaled up version of these smaller 2-inch figures they can get from the mystery crystals and of course the individual packs. So these ones are a scaled up version of it. Therefore, I would say affordability wise, I would say maybe just pay a little bit more just to get these because you do get a better bang for your buck here. I'd rather pay for something that I can interact with than something that's so tiny you can't do much of it. But let me know if you agree or disagree with what I said by leaving a comment down below. As for now, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. And of course, if you want to see the reviews of the 2 inches, of course, the video will be in the description, end screen, and of course, on the cards on the top left corner of the screen. As for now, that's all I got to say for these figures. So thanks for watching. And next up, we're going to be doing the giant figures. So we'll see you in those reviews. So hit that notification bell so you don't miss it when they come out. That's it for now. We'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.